Good evening, it's Adil Fazal here, market analyst for CFDs.com, a leading spread betting and CFD brokerage. If you'd like to know more about the services and products, just visit CFDS.com and certainly start to check out the platform. The reason why I am promoting CFDs.com is, one, I'm working with them in terms of analysts, and two, I will start to obviously offer more products and services and webinars, etc. via CFDs.com. So I'd certainly encourage you to open an account with them, especially going forward, because you will get access to daily reports on the currency, equity, and even the bond markets as well. So and that will be delivered free to every client of CFDs.com. So those of you that do obviously open an account with them, certainly send me an email, and I'll certainly start to upload the database and the emails and database, etc. And obviously hopefully from next week onwards I'll be starting to send that out. Okay, right, European market analysis. So basically we had the Asian markets obviously flushed overnight. Nikkei, as you can see in my FOMC video, I've already discussed this, the Asian markets were down. Brexit scenario obviously becoming a potential reality. The rhetoric has increased on both sides, so no resolution as of yet. Miss Merkel certainly isn't on board either. And Mr. Tsipras obviously had some scathing remarks as well today. So obviously bridges being burned, no bridges obviously being built. So the European markets were down initially in the morning until they recovered quite impressively. So again, we'll discuss and see exactly where they are from a technical perspective also. Okay. Right, we also had German data that was weak today as well. That certainly didn't help the cause in terms of a potential reversal. But let's see where these markets are at this current juncture, because the situation I are understanding it or interpreting it thus far certainly seems to be that the scenario certainly remains risk off for now. Okay, there's no, unless we get any headline or potential resolution overnight. There has been a phone call by Mr. Liu, the US Secretary, with regards to a attempt at a resolution. And the last report, or last few tweets, US Treasury Liu said failure to reach agreement would create immediate hardship for Greece, broad uncertainties for global economy. So Greece may impose capital controls as soon as this weekend if it fails to achieve a breakthrough at Thursday's Eurogroup meeting. And now the Eurogroup meeting on Thursday has already been downplayed, and certainly the expectations are being managed, and so therefore don't expect a resolution there either. So the scenario certainly doesn't look very bright at this current juncture. Okay, so let's look at the technicals now in terms of the situation, because the fundamentals we already know, and the fundamentals we've known for some time now in terms of the risk on and risk off scenario. Okay, so daily chart of the German DAX, we actually put in a new low today, so that isn't a good sign. Okay, although having said that, we're still holding or hugging on to this diagonal trend line, so again observe that. But again, from my perspective, you do have an unfilled gap above, but the German DAX, until there's a resolution with regards to Greece, will certainly remain under pressure. What's very tempting at this current juncture is the unfilled gap at 10,400 and the 200 MA below as well. So as a trader, we have to be aware of both scenarios, and we can't marry an opinion or a particular bias, because the bias by the morning could certainly change overnight. I mean, who expected the Shanghai to be down 3.5% overnight? Nobody. Okay, so again, it's that's why I like to be a day trader, because I have no fixed opinion, etc. I prefer day trading. I love day trading because of the actual fluidity in the markets. Okay, so at present, again, we do have a potential bottoming tail here, so that certainly needs to be respected. We did obviously start negative and finished positive, so again that needs to be respected. But again, the market is all dictated by news flow. Okay, that's all it is. It's all about news flow. So given the fact that the situation, if we get any type of bullish remarks out of the out of either the German officials or European officials or even the Greek officials, then the situation can change very quickly and it can trigger a short squeeze. Okay, so daily chart of the German DAX we already know, unfilled gap above. The weekly chart of the German DAX at present, I mean, looking at a Fibonacci retracement, taking the pivot low here, taking to the pivot high. We're almost at the 38% retracement. So again, that's 10,847. Having said that, we did hit 10,800 this morning. So just open mind, keep an open mind until this Greek scenario, etc., is not resolved. I'm going to keep an open mind because 50% is certainly achievable at the 50 MA, and the actual scenario of 10,000 being hit, which is previous resistance equals support, certainly is a scenario as well. Okay, now the daily chart, again, we've already seen is that pivot low on the daily diagonal trend line. 60-minute chart of the actual DAX. We've broken out this bearish channel. We did not hold the double bottom. Okay, we did actually put in a pivot lower towards S3 before reversing. So again, that still remains vulnerable. We could potentially put in a lower low. Okay, so I'm going to remain open-minded for now. Having said that, it has broken out the bearish channel, so benefit of the doubt. If we can get a retrace down to say 10,950, potentially looking at if we are going to break out of this vicious cycle of lower lows and lower highs, we can't break the 50% or 61%. Ideally, even 75% pulls us back at the double bottom. So ideally, you want a 38 or 50% retracement, and then obviously looking to put in a higher low, and then the market obviously starts to thrust higher on potentially some sort of resolution, etc., etc. Okay, that's the situation that I see or I expect. Now the 10-minute chart of the German DAX, I've certainly drawn this diagonal trend line. It didn't hold. It actually thrusted higher pretty impressively. The market obviously has broken out of this bearish channel, so I have to respect that also. It closed one gap today at 10,990, so very impressive, especially given the fact that it made a pivot lower 10,800. Obviously hit the lower trend line, as you can see. The market certainly did make an impressive recovery, so that needs to be respected for now. So with regards to the German DAX, obviously you've got a resistance zone here at the pivot high on the actual 15th of June. You have the unfilled gap above, so that certainly remains a possibility at 11,200, but without any real positive news, especially with regards to the German data being weak this morning, I can't see that occurring at present. Okay, one could argue, yes, you do have a certain very strong argument for a potential inverted head and shoulders formation. So hypothetically speaking, if we were to get a movement here, for example, and then the thrust here moving lower to 10,950, which I've already explained. As you can see, the last 10-minute candle certainly had increased volume on the sell side, so you're looking for a sell-off, and then obviously then a potential thrust higher. Okay, and then you could certainly have the argument for an inverted head and shoulders target hitting the gap fill level above. Okay, so again, open to all scenarios with regards to the German DAX. Now moving on to the French CAC, let's just try to discuss that. Okay, so look at a daily chart. Okay, daily chart, we closed that gap. Now that's one of the reasons why I actually went long on the Eurostoxx today to the upside. Okay, so the French CAC certainly remains possibly the only bullish chart in town. Okay, so from my perspective anyway, the only bullish chart in town. So if we draw this here, so you have a falling contracting wedge pattern, so that certainly needs to be respected for now. Okay, so again, this level on the French CAC at 4750, 4760 for a bounce certainly has to be respected, and we shall see. Now the unfilled gap above remains open, so if I just delete that now because we've closed that. Okay, so the unfilled gap at 4900, sorry, on the actual the French CAC. Okay, so looking for a potential thrust higher, but we need some consolidation first, and again we do need some bullish news with regards to Greece, so again keep an eye out for that. We did have some increased volume on the buy side, so that's obviously a bullish scenario. 60-minute chart for the French CAC, although we did make a lower low, so again we have to take it with a pinch of salt with regards to the movement itself. On the daily chart we certainly need some follow through, but the 60-minute chart certainly is dictating to me that we do need a potential we certainly would argue, one would argue for a potential a buy on any type of retracement, and then obviously looking for a higher low and looking for a higher high, and certainly looking for a potential move higher. So keep an eye out for that on the 60-minute chart, especially given the fact that it had some increased volume. Now the 10-minute chart certainly has an unfilled gap above at the 4900 level, so that obviously coincides with the daily chart that I was discussing before. Obviously we've taken out these resistance zones here. We managed to close the gap as well, which is pretty impressive. Okay, so for now the French CAC itself, I mean, one could argue here we do have a potential for an inverted head and shoulders, but still early days as of yet. Okay, so I'm going to observe first and give it some more time in terms of the price action, because I also need to see the movement on the euro. Now, one of the scenarios that I was thinking of today was a potential dollar rally, a euro sell-off, and that obviously would provide a catalyst for the French CAC to certainly push higher and close that gap above. So again, that needs to be observed as well in terms of all these scenarios that remain open and the potential situation, hypothetically speaking, with regards to the French CAC. But again, this market is held hostage by the news from Greece. So again, any technical pattern that you have can and will get negated very, very quickly. So don't get obsessed with TA. It's more to do with regards to news flow, with regards to the Greek situation at present. Okay, so like I said, we did have this key trend line. So this trend line I'm going to respect for now. If we do come back and retest anywhere around the 4800 level, the French CAC will certainly be a potential buying opportunity for unfilled gap at 4900. So that certainly will be interesting to observe. Okay, certainly will be interesting to observe. Okay, so the next movement or next chart will be Eurostoxx. So if I switch over to the Eurostoxx, look at the daily chart of the Eurostoxx, we are approaching the 200 MA, so it would be a sin to miss that. So again, I wouldn't get too bullish on the Eurostoxx at present. Again, it certainly remains vulnerable to obviously that being touched. Now the 60-minute chart, if I look at the 60-minute chart here, okay, of the actual Eurostoxx, you can see that we are into resistance at the 3460 level. Now, just to declare, I am short with subscribers on the live analysis service, and I am actually short the Eurostoxx. So just to declare my bias, my opinion at this current juncture, but I'm just explaining to you the potential setup that I've sent to subscribers and the argument for going short. As you can see here, is into horizontal resistance. We obviously made a lower low, so we are still in lower lows and lower high phase. This may well be a lower high for another lower low. So again, one has to look at it from that perspective, especially given the fact that the news flow itself at present or at this current juncture still remains bearish. Okay, and the euro itself still remains strong. Now, if I bring up the chart, the euro USD, what's important here is that the euro USD, or the euro itself, has become like the JPY and the CHF and the USD. It's become a risk trade, okay, or a fair currency basically. So whenever there's a risk-off scenario, you buy the euro as opposed to selling the euros, even if it's to do with the eurozone. Okay, so here we go. So the situation or scenario with regards to euro still remains pretty solid, pretty firm, although it did have a pivot high of 1.1330 this morning pretty impressively, until the equity market started to rally, and as you can see, the euro sold off. So the scenario with regards to the euro and the equity markets remains intertwined, so that certainly needs to be respected. But the 4-hour chart is starting to give you signs of breakdown or potential weakness. So again, I'd like to see, I mean, you do have a bearish consolidation here for a potential move lower, and that obviously could be due to the FOMC. So again, certainly remain open-minded with regards to that, and that certainly will be a wild card as well. Okay, and that certainly seems to be the situation with regards to the Euro USD. Okay, so the actual S&P 350 as well. So daily chart, as you can see, remains vulnerable, lower lows, lower highs, and again that 200 MA certainly remains in the equation, or can't be taken out of the equation. So again, observe that and watch out for that potential zone. Okay, with regards to the actual chart itself. And again, one time I did expect this to be the pivot low, but not now, given the fact that the Greece situation still remains very fluid. Okay, so the FTSE Europe, see if I can share that chart with you, if I can just bring that up. I don't. Oh, here we go. FTSE Europe again. That unfilled gap certainly remains very, very tempting from a technical point of view as a trader. So again, the European situation certainly doesn't look very bullish at this current juncture, especially given the uncertainty surrounding it. So again, it's one must remain cautious, but be aware of a potential bullish pattern brewing. That's probably the best way of understanding it. I am looking for a potential pullback, and then we can see or assess any potential bullish formation. Like I said, keep an eye on the German DAX and the inverted head and shoulders formation there as well. Okay, folks, that's a wrap for European market summation for the 16th of June 2015. Like I said, be sure to visit cfds.com and open an account there. And if you want to obviously start receiving the daily research reports. Okay folks, take care and goodbye.